Cadena internacional de noticias recorre el CECOT. Un reportero del CNN, Bukele, recorrió el recinto penitenciario de máxima seguridad donde se encuentran detenidos miles de pandilleros que llevaron luto y dolor en el pasado a la población salvadoreña. Hola amigos y seguidores de Alfa Producciones, pónganse cómodos porque hoy te traemos un material que de seguro te atrapará. Ya somos 1 millón de suscriptores en este canal y es gracias a ustedes. Somos el canal que desde el día 1 venimos informando todo lo que ocurre en El Salvador y con la llegada de Nayib Bukele a la presidencia. Déjanos tu me gusta para seguir creando contenidos, suscríbete para seguir creciendo y no te olvides de activar la campanita de notificaciones para recibir un nuevo video. Ahora sí, continuamos. La cadena internacional de noticias, CNN, tuvo acceso al centro del confinamiento del terrorismo en El Salvador. El reportero Bukele recorrió el recinto penitenciario de máxima seguridad donde se encuentran detenidos miles de pandilleros que llevaron luto y dolor en el pasado a la población salvadoreña.
18, he says 18. That's one gang. MS-13, you can see written on some of the other ones. Roughly 80 inmates per cell, but it can fluctuate.
Ubicado en un terreno de 236 manzanas, equivalente a casi 7 veces el tamaño del estadio Cuscatlán, en una zona alejada del centro urbano del municipio de Tecoloca, en San Vicente, y con capacidad para albergar a más de 40.000 miembros de estructuras criminales. El centro del confinamiento del terrorismo ya cumplió el primer año en su inauguración. Esta mega cárcel comenzó a recibir internos el 24 de febrero. La mega estructura que cuenta con pabellones para confinamiento de reos, casa para perros guardianes, edificio de custodios, control de acceso con escáner de cuerpo completo, escáner paquetero y arco metálico, administración y almacén de armas y equipos de seguridad, entre otras áreas. Cabe destacar que, tanto dentro y fuera de las instalaciones del CECOT, más de 600 soldados de la Fuerza Armada y 250 efectivos de la Policía Nacional Civil apoyan 24/7 en las tareas de seguridad para atender cualquier posible disturbio entre internos. Antes de continuar, quiero que sepan que estamos orgullosos de estar informando todo lo que ocurre en El Salvador. Nayib Bukele es un presidente ejemplar, visionario y por sobre todo honesto. Ha convertido a El Salvador completamente. Ahora solo se vive paz y tranquilidad. Démosle siempre nuestro apoyo para que pueda seguir convirtiendo a El Salvador en una potencia mundial. Seguimos con la información.
All right, we're gonna go in here.
Even as I'm stepping through these doors,
en la misma celda.
I don't fully grasp what we're about to walk into. Suddenly, you're hit with the intense gaze of dozens locking onto you. These men described as the worst of the worst, tattooed with reminders of El Salvador's dark past. It's tense and uncomfortable. But here, officials say comfort isn't meant to exist.
There's no mattresses, there's no sheets. You've got a toilet over here for them to go to the bathroom. You've got this basin here that they use to bathe themselves. And then you can see there's a barrel of water that they can drink from.
This is a rare look inside El Salvador's terrorism confinement center, known as CECOT.
And he says there's always somebody standing here in front of the cells. And then if you look up, there's another corridor with more security personnel. Luz 24 horas. 24/7 light.
The prison sits like an isolated fortress, nestled in mountainous terrain, about an hour-and-a-half drive from the capital. Even with government officials on board with us, we're stopped a mile out.
Oh, okay. He's gonna inspect bags now too. Okay, we're clear to get back in.
Only to hit another checkpoint. Approaching the main gate, our cell signals vanish.
They want to do a full search on us before we enter.
CECOT's director, Belarmino Garcia, greets us and takes us through a rigorous security check.
Wedding ring. So this is like airport security on steroids. Anything that we're carrying with us. Móvil aquí, teléfono. Okay, anything we're carrying with us has to go there. And then there's a body scan that continues on the other side. Aquí. Shoes off. This one back on. Gracias.
del total.
Once cleared, we toured the vast campus, starting with the armory.
He says they have to constantly remind themselves that they're dealing with essentially the worst of the worst, and for that reason, they need to be ready for whatever risks they might face. It's been equated to 7 football stadiums. It's almost multiple prisons within the prison. You can see off to the distance, there's 3 different rings as they describe. The far end, you have one that's 9 meters high of concrete, and then above that, 3 meters of electrified fencing.
15,000 volts.
15,000 volts.
More than 1,000 security personnel, guards, police, and military are stationed on site. Inmates are assigned to one of 8 sectors.
The director tells me the inmates, once they're inside one of these sectors, they never leave. Everything is done within, including doctors, as well as legal visits or court hearings.
Each sector holds more than 24 large cells.
Roughly 80 inmates per cell, but it can fluctuate.
Most bear the markings of the gangs that held this nation hostage for decades, committing brutal acts of violence.
You gotta kill people, you gotta rob, you gotta do what you gotta do to survive.
You have to do those things.
Yeah, you gotta do that.
And if you didn't do those things, you wouldn't.
You wouldn't be a gangbanger.
We meet 41-year-old Marvin Vasquez, shackled and heavily guarded.
What gang were you part of?
MS-13.
And do you have any gang affiliations?
Yeah, I'm tattooed up.
What is this?
Crazy criminals. Say crazy criminals. Yeah, I made this clique in 2011.
You made the clique?
Yeah.
You were a gang leader?
Yeah.
What is it like to live here?
It's probably not a hotel 5-star, but they give you the 3 times the food. They give you some programs. You go to do exercise.
Ejercicio nosotros lo podemos repetir siempre.
Some church or religion programs too.
But that's limited to just 30 minutes a day. The other 23 and a half hours, they're kept inside and locked up.
For inmates who get violent with other prisoners or guards,
We're going to close the door. I just want to get a sense of... Wow.
solitary confinement awaits.
The only light you get is through this hole. And they can be in here for 15 days, potentially. All right, I'm ready to get out.
Critics point specifically to the prison's strict control and isolation of inmates, calling it a violation of human rights.
The director brought up that a lot of folks will raise concerns from a human rights perspective and an abuse of human rights, that he's calm hearing that because he sees it day to day, the process they go through to maintain, as he sees it, proper punishment.
While you're cut off from society here, whispers of life on the outside make their way in.
I've heard about it, that it's a new El Salvador, it looks different.
That new El Salvador has emerged under President Nayib Bukele, who took office in 2019 and declared a controversial state of emergency more than 2 years ago. It sparked an aggressive crackdown on crime. We see that firsthand as some 2,500 police and soldiers deploy into one neighborhood.
He's going to go on through the night for however long it takes for them to root out any suspected criminal elements.
Gracias a todos por mirar el video hasta el final, espero que te haya gustado y así puedas volver en un próximo video. Cada día estamos informando todo lo que ocurre en El Salvador, así que ya saben, esto ha sido todo por hoy, nos vemos en una próxima.